Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be making you guys a really simple fried rice. The sauce is the best part because it's really easy. I was able to make this with just 2 ingredients and it came out amazing. But yeah, oddly you guys have requested for me and Stacey to eat at the end of our videos. Unfortunately, this was one of the videos I first recorded, so that's not on here. But either way, I hope you guys enjoy and I hope you guys try this recipe. For this recipe, I really wanted to get the tofu to a chicken texture. So here I'm going to start draining the tofu, and then the best way to do this is probably to just press against it with the lid cut open halfway and then squeeze some of it out. You don't want to squeeze all of it out because you still want to use that to cook the tofu when it's in the sartén. So just slice it down the middle and then this way 4 ways, and then flip it and do it the opposite way 5 ways. And as you can see, it's going to give you small chunks, a little bit bigger than bite size, and then I'm just going to cut it down for variety. So the reason I do it a little bit bigger than bite size is because as it cooks, it's going to shrink. So don't worry if they're too big, they're going to shrink, and then you just want a variety of size for the stir fry. Now that everything is cut, I'm going to add my tofu to a really hot pan with some oil in it. Make sure it's on high heat at first and then you can lower it. The key to this is stirring it as few times as possible so that it can get crispy and crunchy on the outside in a goldish brownish color. You'll see more towards the end what I'm talking about. But for now, just let it cook and do your best not to stir it. It will get texture and consistency on the outside of chicken. While that's cooking, I have my other pan that I'm warming up, and I'm going to start with the most dense vegetable that takes the longest to cook, so that's going to be my carrots. I'm going to chop it to a comfortable size and then immediately throw that in the pan so it can start to cook and I can start to chop my other vegetables. As soon as I cut my other vegetables, I am going to check on the carrots, and if they are starting to get a little bit soft, then I'm going to put them in. But if they're still, for the most part, pretty hard, I'm not going to put them in because the heat's going to disperse evenly through all the vegetables and it's going to be even longer for the carrots to cook. So in a separate pan, I'm going to go ahead and start cooking my carrots. I'm going to put these in first because they're really dense and they take a really long time to cook. So meanwhile that's cooking, I'm going to start cutting my squash and onion. So now grab your squash and start cutting that into a comfortable size. I have 4 squashes that I'm using for this recipe, but you can use less, you can use more. It's really up to you. So I'm going to set these aside because the carrots are done, and I'm going to start cutting the onion for the tofu. So here I'm going to chop my onion and then I'm going to add it to the tofu. Once the tofu is a little bit brown on the edges, so I know that the onion won't burn because the tofu does take forever to cook. Now I've turned over the tofu a few times and it's starting to get a brownish color. So I'm going to start adding the onions. Onions and garlic cook really fast, so you always want to do that semi towards the end with the tofu. Alright, and then I set aside my squash for when the carrots are ready, and it looks like they're starting to get soft, so I can put in my squash now and they'll start to cook together. Okay, so now you can start to see the tofu getting a little bit more color. I'm still not stirring it as much, but look, it's a little bit more brown, a little bit more gold, just mixing it a little bit and then leaving it for probably 3 to 5 minutes at a time. Just check, and it also depends on how high you're cooking it and your pan. Alright, so while those things are cooking, like I said, you're going to leave the tofu alone as much as possible. And the carrots and the squash are cooking right now in a separate pan. I'm going to start cutting the broccoli. So I'm not going to cut them too small. I'll probably just cut the larger ones in half if they need to be cut, because once you cook it all together, they dwindle down a lot. I also don't like to cook my broccoli all the way through just so it still retains some of the nutrients. So I'm still not quite ready to throw the broccoli in with the carrots and the squash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a little bit, leave it on the side, and I'm going to start making my sauce. So what you're going to need is this red chili pepper sauce. You can find it at any Asian store, even Vaughn's, Food for Less, they all have it. You're going to mix however much you want of this. It just really depends on your liking because it's kind of spicy. In with some soy sauce, and then I whisk it really well. And then I'm going to need to put a little bit more soy sauce because I am making a lot of fried rice. Alright, now this sauce is ready, but I'm still not going to pour it over just yet. The amount of garlic you want to put in really depends on how much you like garlic. And the way you cut it really depends on how you like your chunks. Do you like to not even be able to taste it? Do you like it to give the rest of the food flavor? So this all factors in. I keep my chunks big because I like to bite into it. I like to taste it. However, if you don't want to bite into it, but you want the rest of your food to have the flavor, then just chop it up really small. But also remember, you're going to add this in towards the end because this will burn. So for most dishes, you're going to add them at the beginning with the onion, but since the tofu takes a really long time to cook, I'm going to add it at the end. So I just put in the broccoli, and I'm not even going to mix it. I'm going to let the heat kind of dwindle it down and soften it up. And as you can see over here, the tofu has a lot more color. It's more gold, more brown, a little bit crispy, but there's still a lot of white in there. So I'm going to leave it in there probably another 15-20 minutes. I really want it to get that chewy texture of chicken. You can see here it's a little bit gold, it's a little bit brown. Look at how pretty and golden brown the tofu is. So this is how you get it to look like chicken. You stir it a lot less frequently. It turns golden crispy on the outside. Meanwhile, the inside has this texture that's like chewy almost. It's really, really good. I can't wait for you guys to try the tofu this way. It just takes a little bit of time, but it's honestly so worth it. So I added the rice in there, but it was underneath the broccoli. I forgot to add that part in there. But now the veggies are almost all the way cooked down, and I'm going to add the sauce, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the tofu. Now I just added the corn in there, and you see how the broccoli has already dwindled down. See? It made a little bit of room on the pan. This is probably not smart. Don't try this at home. I always overfill my pans, and it's not a good thing. I added the rice in there a little bit earlier too, and then I'm just going to mix it all together, and it's going to break down nicely. Cook for about 5 minutes with the sauce, mix it, and this is your final product. I always like to eat my fried rice with cilantro on top and lime and siracha, but that's just my preference. I put lime on everything. I'm just Mexican, but it's really, really good. And Stacey said it was probably the best I ever made, which is weird because I usually put a lot more ingredients in the sauce, but I was working with what I had, which was the soy sauce and the chili sauce, and it came out really, really good. I was really impressed with this. Anyways, I hope you guys try it, and I hope you and your family like it. Let me know if you have any feedback or if you do anything different that I'm missing that I should probably try too. I love, love, love when people give me recipes or tips and stuff, or even just different ingredients. I'm open to it. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you guys in my next video.